passion igniting the light through highs and lows. We'll stand as one, a legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we roar. The Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is, was it Tuesday today already?
It's Tuesday, but it feels like a Victory Monday.
It still is Victory Monday. We can't get over the fact that the Lions just put it down in Lambeau. Could have been a lot worse than what it was, but what an epic win for the Detroit Lions in Week 9, man. We are already halfway through the NFL season. I feel like we have just blinked and it's here. And I always say that every year. It's like, we're waiting so patiently for the season to get started, and then it's Week 1, and next thing you know, it's Week 9. It's like, I haven't even woke up yet. I'm not even ready for all this. Just slow down, just a little bit. Slow down. So anyway, we're going to try to put together a good show today. I feel like absolute bunghole today. I don't feel good at all. So we're going to try to get through it today. Yeah.
The track. I feel fantastic today. So yeah.
Hey, at least one of us is, man. I feel terrible. I don't even drink, and it's just like, that's how I feel. It's head is just pounding.
Yep. One of those days.
Yeah. I must have caught the Packer virus or something. I don't know.
It's actually warm up here in the UP today. Like yesterday was too. It was like 60 degrees. It's raining, but 60 degrees in November. It's blowing my mind up here. Like some of the flowers and some of the plants that normally hibernate for the winter are starting to do. They don't know what to do. They're blooming. Like flowers are coming up and stuff now. So
yeah, that's never a good sign for the next year's crop season, right? Hey, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't remind you to get out and vote today. Of course, this is not a political show. I don't want to know who you're voting for. Really don't want to see it in the chat, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least remind you that today's the day to get out and voice your opinion for your country, whatever that may be. Just try to get along with people, man. That's the most important thing. Just let's get along with people. Let's get along with each other. We're Americans. Let's show our pride. Just like we do our Lions pride, let's show our pride as Americans. Get out and vote for your respective candidate today.
If anybody watched Monday Night Football last night, they saw a bunch of commercials telling them to vote today.
There you go. So I did want to at least show you guys. I got the Gibby glove. Got the Gibby glove. So it's nice and dry now. It's nice and dry, man. These gloves are pretty slick.
Did you try it on?
No, I'm not going to put it on.
No, your hand's too big?
No, he doesn't have that big of hands, but he could stretch these things out, I guess. I don't know. These are pretty cool gloves, man.
Hey, we just got a super chat.
Oh, already. Look at that. What do we got? I don't even have it up. Hold on.
Lions Super Bowl 2024 wrote, "Good morning, guys. Let's bring home Max and Smith and go get the Super Bowl. Good morning, guys. Let's bring home Max and Smith and go get that Super Bowl."
All right, there you go. Hey, appreciate your super shout out, your super chat this morning. So I think we have a goal up this morning, something new that YouTube was doing. As soon as I can figure out where the chat is, I'd be okay. Hold on, let me pop it out here.
I like this guy's name, Super Bowl 2024. You might have to change that to Super Bowl 2025 because it actually is in 2000. But does that count for 2024?
I think it still counts as 24. I've always been confused on the whole why they call it Super Bowl 25 when it's Super Bowl 24. I don't get it. But anyway, Lions Super Bowl 24. Appreciate you supporting the channel this morning. Epic win in Lambeau. I don't have any Lambeau queued up yet, but I will. I'm going to work on that today if I feel better. But let's get you a Gibbs TD because that's who I'm rocking with today.
Goff takes the snap, gives to Gibbs. Gibbs bounces through a hole. There it goes outside 20. Gibbs 15. Gibbs 10. Angling to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, what a run.
All right, so Derek Lewis says, I was thrilled to see an Ozempic commercial sandwiched between the political ads. That's crazy. Yeah, I read some stuff on that company the other day, and I'll just say this: do your research, people. Do your research. Let's kick it off right away with the rumor. Okay, so the rumor that's happening is, well, today's the deadline. Okay, today is the deadline, and Brad Holmes, according to Dan Campbell the other day, has been working the phones. Right, they've been working it. We just don't know who they're always talking to, or who they're talking about, or what's going to happen, or when it's going to happen. But we know one definitive answer today. This is not a rumor. The Lions will or will not sign somebody today. Today is the last day. I can definitively say that. They will or they will not sign somebody today. Guarantee it. You can place a bet on it. I guarantee that's going to happen today. But there is one thing that I found interesting from another NFL insider in the Cleveland area. And so I wanted to talk about that this morning and what they're saying. And first, I think I'll start with what what Dan Campbell said. I do expect to hear from Brad Holmes today. I would expect maybe this evening, later, or tomorrow morning, we will probably hear from Brad Holmes at some point, whether he does or he doesn't do something. I think it would be wise if he doesn't, or if he does, that he at least addresses the reasons, because I think a lot of Lions fans are going to want to know. And I think that would be critical for him to at least share in his opinion as to what happened. Another super chat from Lions Super Bowl 2024. It says, we can do it for Hutch, but whatever we do, I'm down for whatever we get. Let's just go out and get some ends to get pressure. There you go, man. Another super shout out. Appreciate you this morning. Looks like we've got at least one of our goals hit already this morning. Congratulations. Let's get you, who's next up? Let's get you a JMO TD, because JMO's back in the house.
Jamison makes the catch. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, number 9.
Okay. Eric, anything you want to add before I jump into, I'm gonna read this Pride of Detroit article, because they clarify what Dan Campbell was talking about the other day.
Well, let me see if I have a question that relates to this topic we're talking about right here. Let's see. No, I'm going to go not with one of these right now.
Okay, good deal. So here's what we have. Detroit Lions still trying to make a trade, but the deal is not entirely up to us, is what Dan Campbell had said yesterday. And man, Trace is on it this morning. She's gifted 5 new memberships.
Oh, man.
Just added 5 new members to the membership group this morning. If you'd like to support Rock On Cancer Foundation, you can always join the membership on your own. But if you get one gifted to you, just let them know that you would like to continue your membership after your 30-day free trial. So welcome in Justin Chase, Keith Veneer, Easy E, 99 Go Blue Michigan, Read, Believe, Accept God's Promise. Welcome into Rock On Detroit Lions membership group. Let's get you guys shouted out with a Laporta TD. Man, we already got 3 TDs in for the day.
Wow.
Looking deep downfield, got a man wide open. It is Sam Laporta. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 45 yards on the connection, and the Lions.
Here's another one.
Oh, but there's another one by Michael Garrett. He says, smash that like button, everyone. Good to see Michael back in the house. That's going to be TD number 4. Alrighty, on the day. Let me find another one here. Do I have another one lined up? We'll do the win, the playoff win versus the Rams.
For the second time since 1957, for the first time since January 5th, 1992, these Detroit Lions are going to win a playoff game.
I'm expecting to hear the same thing at the end of this season, that we're going to be winning some playoff games. All right,
but not since 2023.
That's right. So here we go. Here's what Dan Campbell said yesterday, and then I'm going to roll into what this insider from Cleveland has just put out. He says, I don't think a trade is entirely up to us. Again, this is Dan Campbell. I can tell you we are trying. Brad Holmes is trying and looked at everything. We really have. We made a ton of calls, and he's been rolling on it. So we'll see. We've still got a bit of time here. We've got until tomorrow evening, so we'll see what happens. And then after that, he followed up with this. If it's not happening, we are rolling. We've got our guys, and we are going. And that's the bottom line. And if something doesn't get done, we will start poaching some of these other practice squads. Shout out to you, Dan Campbell. I'm glad that you said that. You just put everybody on notice. See if we can find some guys that we really like when we're coming out. see if we can find some guys that we really liked when they were coming out of college that have some ability. See if they can grow, and then we'll continue to give our guys on this roster a shot. I think so far what we've seen is Dan Campbell's given his roster a big shot. And I think that they've been filling the role nicely. They've been doing a great job. The Lions are 3-0 in the Do It for Hutch era, and they're going to keep on rolling. They're just going to keep on rolling, in my opinion. I don't think anything is really going to stop them. The one thing that we have on our side right now, which is, hey, we got J-Rod in the house. He said, first morning show in a while. Missed you guys. Hey, missed you too, J-Rod. And thanks for joining or being one of our members now for 2 months, man.
Will, check your phone.
Oh, we got Smith in the house.
Yep, just went down.
All right, we got breaking news here this morning. The Detroit Lions have now brought in Za'Darius Smith. Let me get it rock and rolling here. Per Mike Garafolo, with Aiden Hutchinson down for the season, the Lions have been looking for edge help. Looked into Za'Darius Smith. The deal is done. The Browns are trading standout edge Za'Darius Smith to the Detroit Lions, who add a key presence on the edge to help make up for the loss of Aiden Hutchinson. Wow, it's Smith and a 2026 7th going to Detroit for a 2025 5th and a 2026 6th. Congratulations, Brad Holmes. You just snaked the NFL again and taught them all a huge lesson as to why you are the best.
Wow.
Well, just like my thumbnail said, we knew that Za'Darius Smith was going to be on the way. He's the guy that I've been asking for this entire time. If you guys have been paying attention to this show, Za'Darius Smith was the guy that I thought was going to be the most important piece to add to this team, contract-wise, experience-wise, age-wise. He fits the scheme. Everything about Za'Darius Smith makes perfect sense for this team. Eric, what's your take on this, man? I know you got to be excited.
Yeah, this is cool, man. At least we get a little bit of help. Proven guy, a guy that wants to come in, play against his former teams in the Packers and the Vikings. And he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to come here. Somebody who actually wanted to come to Detroit. Isn't that awesome? A great feeling for once that people want to come here and not somewhere else. Yeah, this guy could be good. And the fact that we get him and a 7th next year, and then we're giving up a 5th next year and a 6th the following year. So we're only giving up one draft pick next year, and it's a 5th, and we get back a 7th, and then the following year we're giving up one draft pick, which is 6th.
Yeah, so let me try to recap that to make it make some more sense. So the Lions are bringing in Za'Darius Smith, and they get a 7th round draft pick in 2026. So they're going to swap a 7th and 26 for a 6th round pick of the Detroit Lions. So we just moved down one spot in 26, but in 25 next season we're only giving up a 5th rounder. Now, the article that I was going to bring in this morning from the Insider had said that the price was as high as a 4th round selection. So whatever Brad Holmes did this morning has got it worked out. So Detroit Lions are now the winners of the Za'Darius Smith lottery. They have now solidified an edge for the rest of the season. This is exciting news, man. But here you go. Here's the post on Twitter, so you guys know I'm not just filling it full of garbage here. And
I checked it twice. I checked with Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter before I even mentioned it to you, because I am never going to not check something before I say something ever again. I learned my lesson.
Yep.
Ooh, Jay.
So here's the other thing with this, though. I still fully expect what I was just reading, what the Detroit Lions are probably going to continue to do. I feel like they're going to continue to poach players. I don't think that this is going to stop. I think that this door is going to continue to stay open. I mean, Za'Darius Smith is one part of, this team now that can help get some pressure off the edge. Let's take a look at Za'Darius Smith's stats for just a moment. While I'm bringing that up, Eric, if there's anything you want to add or talk about, feel free.
Yes. So, let's see here. I got to get my notes up real quick. Take myself off my screen. So, this is a little bit off topic from Za'Darius Smith, but the Packers seem to think that self-inflicted wounds are the reason why they lost to the Lions. Do you believe that's the case, that it was self-inflicted wounds and not that the Lions were the better team?
I mean, I would say they definitely had some self-inflicted wounds, but the Lions were the better team. I mean, there's just no there's just no way around it. I mean, they played a clean game. I mean, outside of the Brian Branch, major catastrophe with that whole, issue and that penalty and the ejection. I mean, they played a really clean game. And Jared Goff didn't put the ball on the ground. He didn't, lead his receivers out to dry. He put the ball on target. Jordan Love couldn't put the ball on target. But yeah, there was a ton of pre-snap issues for the Packers. The self-inflicted wounds, with the holding calls and things of that nature. Yeah, they had some, but you know what? That's football. So I wouldn't say that they just lost the game because, they couldn't stay penalty free. I think that was a big part of it. But even beyond that, they still couldn't move the ball the way that they needed to win this game. I mean, you put the ball up in a monsoon 40 times, you're not going to win. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And in my opinion, the reason that fans are thinking like that is because they put up so many yards against us. They did. But most of that was because the Lions jumped out to a 24-3 lead in the third quarter. And we were playing prevent defense the whole second half of that game. The entire second half, if you looked at our corners and our safeties, they were 10, 15 yards back. I mean, they were giving them all the middle of the field over the middle easy stuff. They were just trying to contain them and not let them score, and it worked. And I'm starting to see that now. Like I always used, like when we went to the Seahawks game, you and I was sitting there going, I hate this prevent defense. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And why did I hate it? Because it gives up a bunch of yards.
Right.
But it's working.
Well, and let's be clear, it's not a true prevent defense.
No.
It's just they're trying to play it's more of like a bend but don't break. They're just trying to keep everything in front of them. And they're just trying not to give up the big touchdowns or the quick scores. That's all the Lions are trying to do, and they're doing really good at it. I feel it's working really well, honestly. It's not where you want to live. I mean, I don't think if the Lions had a choice, to get up and pressure and stay, involved in the game that way, that they would want to, play the defense that they have to play right now. But it is what it is. And, the biggest credit, in my opinion, is to AG, man. I mean, come on. I mean, the dude is got this defense playing incredibly well. And now you're going to bring in a guy like Z Smith that he's going to help this defense. He's going to. And I'm not going to say it's going to be, an overnight, change of the guard here. Like it's like he's just going to get inserted into game one and all of a sudden we're going to have 5 sacks. I don't believe that for a minute. But I think that he's going to add some presence, and I think that he's going to be able to contain his edge, and I think that he's going to be able to get some pressure on the pass rusher, or on pressure on the passer as a pass rusher. But I would expect more of the same that we're already seeing right now because it is working.
I'll say this too. How many times during this Packers game was the defender, whether it was an edge or an inside rusher or a cornerback or a safety, how many times were we within inches of either getting a sack or really, really putting on some hard pressure that affected the throw? You saw his throws going all over the place. He almost had a couple of interceptions. He should have had 2 or 3. And he did have the one against Kirby, very poor throw. And that was affected because he had, Aleem McNeil right in his face.
Right.
So the Lions are the number 5 scoring defense at 18.5 points per game. And guess who's at number 4 at 18.4? Just 0.1 point less than the Lions.
Packers, I'll guess.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Interesting.
So you want to keep up with the big boys? That's what we're doing. Number 4 and number 5 scoring defenses in the league right now are the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions at 18.4 and 18.5 points per game.
See that we have the wrong display out this morning. I'll try to fix that here in just a moment. All right, so I wanted to bring in Za'Darius Smith's stats.
There we go.
Oh, hold on. Let me get this off the screen here. There we go. I think I'm in the wrong one. There we go. And then phone line. I'm going to open up the phone line here in about 4 minutes. If you guys want to call in and talk about Za'Darius Smith and the Lions move this morning, I want to hear from you. The fans want to hear from you. I know a lot of you have been begging and pleading and just waiting for this to happen. and it's happened. So we want to get you guys on the airwaves this morning, voicing your opinion for Brad Holmes and how he's working his magic. So let's take a look at his stats real quick. If you can see this, so far through this season, he has 5 sacks, 27 pressures, 20 hurries, and missed tackle rate 21.7%. So this is just their basic PFF grades for the season. Last year, he had 61 total pressures and 6 sacks. 2022, he had 80 total pressures and 10 sacks. 21 looked like it was a very off year for him. Maybe he was injured that season, or maybe he opted out that season. I think that was the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken. And then in 2020, he had 59 pressures and 14 sacks. His best season, 2019, 105 total pressures, 18 sacks. So we got a good one. I mean, he's a little bit older, right? Za'Darius Smith. Let's see. He was born, it says 1992. So he's about 32 years old this season. He's 6'4", 275 pounds. He has 4.83 speed, which is very similar to Aiden. I think Aiden's right around the 4.75, 4.78, somewhere in that range. But the difference between a Za'Darius Smith and a Aiden Hutchinson is the arm length. So Za'Darius Smith's arms, I want to say, are 33.5 inches. So I know it's just an extra inch, but that extra inch does play a role when you're trying to keep those tackles at bay, and trying to move around them. So I think we got a good one. I think this is the one that made the most sense out of all of them, and I don't think that Brad Holmes is done. I really don't. I think that it's gonna continue to roll throughout the day. This is just the first shoe that dropped.
I really like the fact that he already has 5 sacks on the season. And he's with a team that I don't believe has as much gel as the Lions do, if that makes sense. I really think the Lions are a family unit and are really cohesive and gelling together. And
let me get these ads turned off real quick. I appreciate everyone getting your likes in. Looks like we've got about 300 people watching right now. Smash the like button for Brad Holmes. Lions have now brought in Za'Darius Smith. Trade compensation this morning. The Lions are sending a 2026 7th round and a 2025 5th round in place of Za'Darius Smith and a 2026 6th round pick. So Lions looking good. I think I just said that wrong. Lions looking good now. We've got our edge rusher. This defense is playing at a high level. This is going to add an immediate impact to this defense right away. But let me throw out another name. So I did some research last night.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2 minutes, I'm opening up the phone lines. If you guys want to call in, the numbers on the screen in the top right above my head. If you look right there, it's right up there. 313-312-0348. I'm going to open up the phone lines in just a couple minutes. We want to hear from you guys talking about Za'Darius Smith. But I looked at some players last night, and I'm thinking, okay, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they're talking about poaching some players. I love it. I love that he used the word poach. I use that word often, too. I love that word. I'm like, who would he want to poach? Would you want to take somebody from the NFC North? Okay, let's take a look. And there's a guy that I kind of like. And his name is Andre Carter II, Minnesota Vikings. And I love it. I actually like what this guy's all about. He's 6'6", 256 pounds, 24 years old. He's got 2 years into the system now. Comes from the Army. So this guy's he's a different dude, right? He's coming from the Army. So he's probably mentally built right. The same kind of identity you would think that maybe they're looking for. The Army's all about doing the right thing. And I don't know if it stays the same with their football squads, but anyway, 2023 Minnesota Vikings edge rusher Andre Carter II is somebody that I would be looking to poach. I don't know if he's locked down. I don't know if he's protected by the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know who's protected over there, but he was one of 3 undrafted rookies to make the 53-man roster in 2023. He saw action in 12 games as a rookie. He appeared in a career-high 19 defensive snaps versus Green Bay. He made his NFL debut in Week 3 versus the Chargers last season. But listen to these stats from college. He finished his Army career with 20 career sacks, second most in Army history. He played in 10 games in 2022. He logged 41 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 pass breakups. He finished number 2 in the FBS with a school record 15.5 sacks in 2021. He became the Army's first All-American in 31 years. He played in 10 games for the Army, making 2 starts as a sophomore. He totaled 14 tackles, 1 interception. Here's his honors. NFL Combine participant in 22, Reese's Senior Bowl in 22, the Phil Steele All-Independent First Team Defense in 22, Third Team AP Press All-American in 21, the Phil Steele Second Team All-American in 21, the Phil Steele All-Independent First Team Defense in 21, Pro Football Network's All-Independent Defensive Player of the Year in 21, Pro Football Network's Independent Defensive Lineman of the Year in 21, and Pro Football Network's First Team All-Independent at Edge in 21. Sounds like a pretty solid candidate for Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes to go poach. That's all I know on the guy, though, is what I just read. Haven't watched any tape, so you know what they say about the tape. Tape don't lie. But what else doesn't lie is Brad Holmes, man. He got it done. So congratulations to all the Lions fans this morning.
You sure about that?
We got our edge rusher.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
And no, I'm not sure that Brad Holmes is done, though. I'm not sure at all. All right, if you want to call in, now's the time. 313-312-0348. Voice your opinion about the newest addition to the Detroit Lions team, Za'Darius Smith. Are you happy? Do you think Brad Holmes is done? Who else are you looking for? Is one more on the way? Where are we at?
Check that last text I just sent you.
Chat says my audio is low. All right,
Yeah.
let me fix that real quick.
Make sure your numbers are up there.
Oh, audio looks like it's good.
Okay.
Let's just double check.
I like what LTL fan put in the chat there. The Raiders called the Lions. No, I highly doubt we would get another edge that is as high end as Za'Darius Smith. I don't think we're going to get a Max or a Trey Hendrickson, or a Crosby. You know, who's the other guy for the Browns? I just don't think those guys are available. They're too rich.
Well, I think that this move fits exactly what we expected Brad Holmes to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think the most that we were going to give up was probably a 4th round pick. And quite honestly, I mean, again, let me recap this one more time. The Detroit Lions get Smith and a 2026 7th in place of Detroit giving up a 5th in 25 and a 6th in 26. What did I say this whole time? I said, give away your 5th and your 6th and your 7ths. It's going to be really hard to make this team as a 5th, 6th, or a 7th round pick next year. They're going to be, I hate to say useless picks because they're never useless. All right, we got a caller calling in here.
Hey, right on.
Good morning. Thanks for calling Rock Down Detroit Lions. Who do I have on the line?
What's going on, man? I'm glad about the pick for Smith. But did you guys hear anything about Chase Young?
I haven't heard anything about Chase Young yet. Do you have any news to share, or are you hoping that he's still on the way?
No. Yeah, I thought because the Saints was doing bad too at 2-6, I thought he'd probably be on there because I thought I seen something on there maybe yesterday or something like that they was talking about. So I'm not really sure. I just thought maybe you guys probably heard something. But,
Nothing yet, but Chase has been a name that has been kind of flying around now for a couple of seasons. And thank you for calling in. If you don't mind, I'll answer it off air. Or did you have anything else you want to share?
Oh no, that was cool. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Have a good day, man. Go Lions.
Sounds like you got another call.
So, we got another one calling in here. Let me answer it.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling Rock Down Detroit Lions. This is Will. How you doing today?
Good and yourself. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. What do you think about the Za'Darius Smith trade?
Oh, I think it's great. I actually thought they were going to go ahead and give away their 4th, but they kept their 4th, and then they gave away their 5th. And like you said, it's going to be hard to make this team, so I think it's a good trade for us. I think we did very, very well. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. Do you think that Brad Holmes has done enough, though? Let me ask that question because that is going to be a question of the day. Do we think that Brad Holmes has done enough today?
I would say he needs to, try to see if he can get anything else, like if there's anything available. But hey, we filled a need that was a big void, and go Lions, man. I think we're in the right path now.
You got it, buddy. You got it. So I'm going to finish with one more quick question to you. Do you believe Chase Young would be a good addition to this team if the Lions had an option to throw, a late round pick at it?
Let me see. By watching his tape a little, he does give up on some plays, but maybe it was because he wasn't playing for a contender. I feel like with the right locker room, maybe he'll pop off and give us what we saw in Ohio State, man.
Great takes, dude. Great takes, man. Good morning, and thank you for calling in this morning. Go Lions.
Thank you, brother. Go Lions, and God bless you.
Go Lions.
You too, man. Take care.
So I got a little something real quick.
Sure.
This is from Adam Schefter himself. The other cost aside from the pick swaps, the Lions will take on the remaining $605,000 in Za'Darius Smith's contract. The Browns already have paid $11.3 million of Smith's 2024 compensation. Let Brad cook. Holy crap. It won't even affect
I'm crying now because he just, oh my God, Brad. Jeez, oh Peach, dude. You're not supposed to be able to do that to people, but this is the Browns we're talking about, the doo-doo Browns. I mean, they can they ever make
Isn't that hilarious?
Can they ever make a good decision? Holy cow. Oh, that is crazy. Yeah, you might as well just send over a box of cupcakes. Like, here, I'll take Za'Darius Smith. You guys can eat these today.
Yeah, and Za'Darius Smith, isn't he under contract for next year as well? We'll hold his rights for next year.
I believe so. Let me get his contract up.
That's awesome.
I mean, I knew that there would be a lot of things that would have to get paid because he's got. I think he had a lot of voids left in his contract, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he does. So he's got some void years, 26, 27, 28, 29, which probably total, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.8, 5.2, about 5.2 million in option bonuses with the void. So half of it was just what was due, from the prorated bonuses. The rest of it, I don't know where it's coming from, at least based on Spotrac. I mean, he had a $605,000 cap hit and a $1.4 million option bonus next year with a $5.4 million cap hit. So, I mean, it is what it is. We're picking up $605K this year. He has I don't think he has any guaranteed money next year.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe he does. Nope, he doesn't. He doesn't have any guaranteed money next year. So, yeah, we'll still have his rights, but it's an option for the Lions to get out. If they wanted to get out, I would not think that the Lions are going to want to get out of such an inexpensive contract. If anything, they're going to want to keep Z Smith around to see how well Aiden is, when he comes back. Yeah. And if we could have one season with Smith and Aiden together, I think that'd be great. Especially if we can get Marcus Davenport back. I would really love to see him back in the fold.
Yeah, I just spotted a good tweet on X, and it's from Lion King. It says, worth noting the Lions also have a year of Za'Darius Smith and Hutch in 2025. So we've been clamoring to have another competent edge with Hutchinson at the same time. That's what we wanted all year. That's why we wanted Davenport. So now this gives us some insurance against Davenport next year. We can bring Davenport back in on the cheap one more time, give it a shot. And it's not going to hurt us whether he plays or whether he doesn't.
Yeah, so I'm just looking ahead here. Who do we have signed for next year? So Josh Paschal should be under contract. Who else is under contract?
Here's a funny one from Mike Kimber. Now I can get some sleep. Welcome to Detroit, Za'Darius Smith.
Right.
Everybody's just been waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen, and it finally happened.
Yeah, I'm only seeing Josh Paschal under contract for next year. I don't see Levi.
Oh, really?
I think this is Levi's last season.
Yeah, it's his. I'm pretty sure it's his his make or break year.
So we'll have Wingo next year, which he's going to have to take a big step up. We'll have Pascal.
I think Wingo has taken a big step up for being a 6th round pick. It kind of reminds me of Rodrigo, where next year maybe he'll be back just a little bit, wait in the weeds, and then in 3rd year, then he'll make a whole bunch more progression.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at for next season is you'll have Aiden Hutchinson, you'll have Aleem McNeil, you'll have DJ Reader. Marcus Davenport's on a void year, so he's not back. You'll have Josh Pascal. You have Mekhi Wingo. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. We only have 5 returning defensive linemen right now. 6th one is Za'Darius Smith. So we have 6 guys under contract for next year. So that means 5 guys, that we're going to need are going to either have to get re-signed, or we're going to have another, 35, 40% changeover in that room next season. I'm really loving the way that the Lions are playing, with this squad right now. So we might get, the Pat O'Connors back, or Kyle Pecco. I'd love to see him back. I'm good with Marcus Davenport, man. I mean, you could probably pay him the same exact what you did this season and probably get him back for another year. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year, but at least for this season, right now the Detroit Lions have, in my opinion, one of the best defensive lines that they've had in a long time, even without some of the players, that we've lost to injury. I feel like this defensive line is playing, better complementary football than what we've seen in the past. I said it last night that, when you had Aiden in there, we were so reliant on just Aiden, and it seemed like nobody else was really doing a whole lot. But the minute you take out your best horse, right? Now all the other horses got to work together. And when they work together and you start to scheme it up that way, now you're starting to see guys play at a different level. I feel like they're taking more ownership. They're not just reliant on one guy to try to do everything for them. And I'm not saying that's the way they play. I wouldn't expect that's the way they play. But for whatever reason, there's been a significant change in the level of play out of these guys. They've all been playing at a much higher level. I don't think Aleem is changed what he's done. I mean, I think Aleem is just Aleem. DJ Reader is DJ Reader. I mean, I think that we're going to expect to get what we get out of those guys. Aleem had a really good day on Sunday. He was all over the place. But now you're adding Za'Darius Smith to the fold with the way that these guys have been playing already. Look, I think that one guy is all we really needed, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes is going to bring in another. Phone line's open if you guys want to talk about the Za'Darius Smith trade or anybody else that's on your mind. So I wanted to re-answer the first caller's question. He was asking about Chase Young. And when Aiden Hutchinson went down, with a season-ending injury, I mean, Chase Young was a name that seemed to pop up right away. He's been a name that's been floated around for a while. I don't think he's really ever made a whole lot of sense as a Detroit Lion. I just don't. To the second caller's, the way that he said it and framed it, kind of looked like he takes plays off, maybe because he's not playing for a contender. He's not happy with where he's at. He had the same issue with the 49ers. I mean, he was almost going to get benched in a playoff game.
In the Super Bowl.
So, I mean, come on. Like, if that's how you're going to play, I don't think you fit in the Detroit Lions locker room, because we don't take plays off. And we don't care where you're selected. We don't care how much you make. We don't care about any of that. They don't care about any of that. They care about what's in front of them. And that's playing the game of football and working together as a team. So I'm not high on I've never been high on Chase Young. I've never thought that he would be a great fit. Now, the second guy that I was pounding my chest for, which I know a lot of people didn't like, was Jadeveon Clowney. And he kind of fit that same narrative as Chase Young. Early in his career, Jadeveon Clowney got a real bad rap, for some of his issues, but more importantly, the issues on the field. And it just didn't seem to go all out. But he's now, he's aged, right? He's gotten a little bit of, a little bit wiser. I feel like he's on the outs of his career, but he still has some gas left in the tank. He's another very cheap option right now that I do believe can give you some options on this defense to at least give you some playing time and possibly some pretty good production. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jadeveon Clowney is still not in the fold or as a potential option for the Lions, and it would be a really inexpensive option for them. I don't know if they would. I don't even think that they would have to send as much as they did for Z Smith. I mean, that's just a crazy trade that they pulled off for Z Smith.
It is. I'm kind of floored, and then to hear the money part of it, and your reaction said it all. Laughing your butt off because we just stole Za'Darius Smith from the Browns. Brad Holmes did it again. He did it again. Take that.
Yeah. Brad just keeps making these crazy moves, man, that I don't know how he does it. I really don't. He's just got to be like that evil genius in his chair, just kind of twiddling his fingers. And that's what I envision. He's just the evil genius in the chair right now, making these moves. The rest of the league's got to be pissed off right now that he just pulled that off.
Yeah. Wayne Shirk says, Eric, my friend, do you think we are done? Always a fan. I don't know. I don't know if we're done now, because I was saying before this show and on previous shows that I was 90% that Brad was going to do nothing. I thought that he was just going to do what Campbell talked about yesterday and poach people off of practice squads. He was just going to take people off of the lower end of the 69-man rosters and be bargain bin Brad.
See, I don't like the name bargain bin Brad from a negative standpoint.
No. I think it's a positive. I don't think it's a negative.
It's a positive too.
I don't think it's negative at all, because listen, he can cook with these draft picks. These draft picks mean everything to him, because what have I preached since I got on this podcast? Build it through the draft. Don't buy it.
Yeah, so Moodscar Blade wanted to know about the salary cap situation. If you want to recap it again, Eric, real quick for him.
Lions are going to be on the hook for $605,000 of his
salary cap in 25 or in 24.
Yeah, in 24. And then I'm not sure for 25.
So less than veteran minimum for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And then he is under contract for 25.
Oh, we just had another trade. Jeremy Fowler says the Bears just got a 7th rounder in exchange for sending running back Khalil Herbert to the Bengals. So the Bears are selling today.
Interesting.
So this is the Adam Schefter tweet. The other cost aside from the pick swaps, the Lions will take on the remaining $605,000 in the Za'Darius Smith contract. The Browns already have paid $11.3 million of Smith's 2024 compensation. So basically, the Browns have already paid him for the entire season. We're getting him for $605,000. Super. You can't get a player any cheaper than that, I don't think.
So when trades like this happen, what happens is all of the void years, all of the bonuses, everything that you've paid out but kicked the can, that all hits your salary cap this year. So all of that stuff is going to come out right now. It's going to be attributed to the Browns, and then anything you're sending, with the trade would be what the remaining value of that contract is, unless the two teams work out a deal and they say, look, I'll give you these 2 picks, but you've got to pay, all of this, contract stuff before we take them in. And so that looks like what the Browns did is at least settled up, everything that they could to make it make sense. The fact that the Lions, for less than $1 million, they bring in Za'Darius Smith and they give away, it's a pick swap. It's a 7th and a 6th round pick swap in 26th, and it's we're giving up a 5th rounder next year, I think is what it was.
Yeah,
that's incredibly inexpensive. And let's be honest, what is a 5th round pick really worth, value wise, money wise? $1 million, maybe. Yeah. There's a whole chart, that can tell you how much those picks are really worth. I would say it's not worth more than $1 million. I mean, it depends on who you are. If you're Brad Holmes, it's probably worth a lot more to you because he does so well in the draft. And I think that's why, you know, people I think referred to him as bargain bin Brad or dollar store general Brad or whatever. I think that's a negative, the way that people say that versus, hold on here, you got an extremely intelligent GM that shops by saving money, by saving draft capital, by saving your future, which is more important. So I think it's a positive the way he does it. Yes, you could call him bargain bin or, you know, whatever you want to call him, but it's a good thing that he does those things. It's a bad thing if you're the Browns. Look what the Browns do. They give away everything. They give out huge contracts. They put their entire future, you know, in peril before it even, you know, their next season is already screwed because of Deshaun Watson. Their next 10 seasons are already screwed because of Deshaun Watson. We don't want that. We just got out from underneath Matt Millen 2 seasons ago. I don't think we want to see that again. Do we, Eric? I don't think we want to see that again.
No, and I'm trying to look it up, but you know, the Browns for next year, it says, have $3.6 million.
Yeah, I doubt that's accurate.
They're in cap hell. You know, they're paying Deshaun Watson this incredible money, $72.935 million next year. Just nuts.
Yeah, right now in 2025, the Browns are $3.6 million over the cap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For this season, it says they have $45 million in cap space, and then they go from $45 million this year to negative basically 3.7 next year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's in red.
A $49 million swing without adding or deleting any players.
Yep.
That's not good. That's not good. And the Lions on the other side. Let's look at what the Lions look like, right? Detroit Lions salary cap for this season, we still have $27.4 million. And next year, we go up to $70 million. So we gain, you know, $43 million before the league adds, you know, another 25 million to the cap. The Lions could be sitting close to $95 million in cap money before, you know, when the new league year hits, before anything else. So before any of the dead money, you know, that you're going to have, the injury money, all that stuff that gets attributed to next year's cap, you know, which maybe it's 10, 15, 20 million. Who knows? I don't know yet. But at a minimum, I think the Lions are going to be working with at least plus 60 million again next year, which is where we were this year. And they did a bunch of moves, brought in a bunch of guys, and we're still in the plus margin. So that's why you have a very intelligent GM that is doing the right thing at the right time with the right players, giving away the right picks. Brad doesn't give away picks. He hoards those things, and he does it for good reason. So extremely smart move. Let's talk about the Cowboys for a brief second.
Whoa, what's going on with the Cowboys?
Well, Dak Prescott, depending on where you're from. Prescott if you're from the South, Prescott if you're from the North.
He's the biscuit man.
Yeah, he's done for several weeks.
Yeah, they're talking about possible IR for him.
Yep, so he could be done the rest of the season. Are the Cowboys willing to sell right now? Do you think that they'd be willing to sell to the Lions? Probably not. I think we're the big thorn in their side right now.
Yeah, no, I don't think to the Lions. I don't think they would.
But I wanted to look at their practice squad and to see if there's anybody worth poaching over there. Well, there's one guy, and I only like this guy because of the name. Get this. Luigi Villain. Defensive end, 6'4", 252 pounds, 3 years of experience out of Wake Forest. Luigi Villain, Villain, Dallas Cowboys defensive end on the practice squad. I think just the name alone, you've got to put him on the roster and put a jersey on him and put him in the game at least once.
Dude, how many jerseys would the Detroit Lions sell if we had a starting edge named Villain? I would buy one tomorrow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's crazy. Mark Baylor, he says, don't we carry over unspent cash from this year's cap? So that's a loaded question, but yes, you can. And what the Lions have to do is they have to notify the league what they intend to do with that money before the season ends. So I'm not sure that the timeline on that, someone smarter than me would know when Brad has to notify the league of what they intend to carry over. But yes, you can carry over all of that money into next season. It used to be that you had to spend all but 10% of your cap.
They still have to spend a certain amount. I don't know what the exact amount is, though.
Yeah. Bill Show, he says, I just got here. Congrats to the Lions. Do you think that Brad may have another trade brewing? Maybe this is why this broke loose early. Hey, man, I don't know. I hope so. I'm still in for one more, position of need here. We didn't really suffer any major injuries this weekend, but given the status of this Lions team over the last 9 games or the last 9 weeks, losing players consistently, I feel like we should be more ready than not, right? You got one chance right now, and today's it. Today's the day. So, was that kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions? Way too long of a name, Jeremy. Smith only costs $650K for the rest of the season. Yes, he does.
605. Yeah. That's great. And listen, in my opinion, I think Brad is done with trades for the day. I mean, people aren't going to want to hear that. Everybody wants to hear, hey, we're going to go get somebody else to add with this. I think it's going to be kind of a fizzle at 4:00. That's just my take on it. I'm about 99% on that Brad is probably done for the day. It would very much surprise me. It would blow me away like you were blown away by how much we paid for Za'Darius Smith if Brad goes out and trades for someone else like Za'Darius Smith, a big name like that. That would absolutely blow me away because I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, if we do anything, like Dan Campbell said, they're willing to poach from practice squads. So I'm going to be scanning the practice squads over the next week, but there's a couple that have popped up. Like I spoke earlier about Carter from Minnesota. I think that there's an opportunity there. He's a young player, but I think that just on the surface level of things, I think he has a few pieces that kind of fit. And then from the Cowboys, are the Cowboys going to be sellers today, given the fact that Prescott might be or should be done for several weeks, possibly the rest of the season? Are they looking to retool? That's going to be the question. I've got one other piece of big news, and it involves the Cowboys, and I'm going to break that later today. A little bit of a rumor that I heard. You're not going to like it.
Ooh.
So pay attention to later on this afternoon when I get a chance, assuming I get a chance to get this video out. We'll see how I feel. But a little bit of a rumor that involves the Detroit Lions. We'll see where it goes. Anything else you want to talk about this morning? Let's see what else we have for these folks today.
Yeah, sure. I got a couple of questions that I wrote down about this game the other day. So with the dominating win in our 5 out of the past 6 games, do you believe that the Detroit Lions are now the best team in the NFL?
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
So the Lions have had dominating wins in like 4 or 5 of the last 6 games. With the way they've been dominating teams, are the Lions now the best team in the NFL?
Well, I do know this. They're the best team in the NFC.
Yep.
I do know that.
Do you think
right now they're number 1? They're sitting alone at the top of the list. They're number 1 in the NFC with the 1 seed currently. If playoffs were to start today, they are number 1 in the NFC North. And everyone said that the Green Bay Packers was the biggest test for the Lions. I don't think it was. I really don't. I think the biggest test that we've had so far has been the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Minnesota Vikings. I think those are the best teams that we've faced so far this season. I think the LA Rams, healthy, is also a very tough team. So between those 3 teams, I would say that those are the toughest games that we've had, and we won all but 1. And honestly, I don't know what the hell happened against Tampa Bay. We should have won that game. But it was early, right? Goff was still trying to put his things together, and the offense wasn't rolling as sharply as it is now. But to answer your question, after a few convincing wins, Jared Goff is sitting atop of every quarterback in the league right now with completion percentage and a whole host of other metrics and analytics and stats that nobody has ever done in the NFL. Not even Tom Brady.
Yep.
So I think you have a culmination of tools and players and coaches and schemes that are all working very well together. It's a very well-oiled machine right now. I don't think anyone's going to stop us. If we can stay as healthy as we are right now, deep into the postseason, making a Super Bowl run, no one's going to stop us. This train is rolling, and you can't stop a train when it gets going. They believe. These players believe. They've all bought in. You've got continuity now for 4 seasons in a row. You can't say that just about any other team other than the Chiefs. You really can't say that.
So I stayed up last night and I watched the Chiefs versus the Buccaneers. And my wife comes out. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "The game went to overtime." She's like, "Are you ever coming to bed?" I'm like, "Yeah, just give me 1 minute." I was like, "One more play and this game will be done." And one more play and the game was done. And Patrick Mahomes threw a touchdown to Travis Kelce or whoever it was and ended the game. The Chiefs had to bring the Buccaneers all the way to overtime to beat them at home in the rain. The Bucs, they were ahead for a lot of that game. And the Bucs gave them everything. That was the closest they've come to losing all year. And I truly believe if you put the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Mercedes-Benz Dome down there in Louisiana today, and you put them against each other, I think the Detroit Lions would come out victorious over the Kansas City Chiefs. So I do believe that the Lions are the number 1 team in the NFL right now. And the only reason the Detroit Lions are not 8-0 is because our special teams unit ran on the field when Jared Goff was trying to spike the ball.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yep, that's the only reason we have 1 loss against the Buccaneers.
So I guess if you were to look at the 2 top teams in the NFL right now, Detroit Lions and Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs by way of, they're 8-0. Right?
Yep.
They deserve to be up at the top.
Yep.
You have both teams have something in common. They have 2 of the best offensive lines in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really feel that the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line is anywhere near as good as the Lions offensive line? Do we really feel that?
If you watch that game last night, Patrick Mahomes was under pressure. He was having to run all over the place. And when he did, he landed really hard. He jumped and landed really hard and hurt his left hip.
Was it his hip or was it his knee?
It was his hip. He had to come out of the game. He had to be helped off the field with a person on each side of him. He had to be helped off the field into the blue medical tent. I don't know if they popped his hip back in or what. He comes out, he jogs around. He's like, "I'm good to go," back in the game. So his offensive line is, they're letting some guys through. Vita Vea was getting pressure up the middle almost every play on them. And they were pushing that offensive line around last night way worse than they did against the Lions. And I know they had a few people injured against the Lions that they may have gotten back last night. But the Chiefs, their offensive line did not look as good as the Lions' offensive line did. I don't know how many sacks or whatever they gave up last night. I didn't get a chance to look.
So I'm just trying to look at the stats right now versus the Kansas City Chiefs last night.
Bucks versus
I don't see it. Need to go by game here.
Here we go.
Well, their grades are still somewhat pending, but I was trying to take a look at, where their offensive line was for the season. Maybe we'll look at that tomorrow. But the whole point of this exercise here is, where do the Lions line up? if the season ended today, do the Lions have enough to make a dominant go at this, for a Super Bowl? Does anybody not believe the Detroit Lions have a chance? Does anybody really not believe that we don't have a chance at going all the way?
I'm Packer fans.
Yeah, well, if I were to tell you all the stories from that game on Sunday, all the conversations that I had, I'll tell you one more. So I'm sitting next to this guy, the same guy that's, asking me stupid questions like, how many Super Bowls do the Lions have? And blah, 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 blah. This is real football. See, we don't have a dome and you're playing in the real weather here. And I'm like, yeah, well, we could afford the dome in Detroit. So then all of a sudden he's like taking his pants off and his boots off. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? It's like pouring rain and you're sitting over here taking off your pants and in your boots. And he couldn't get his boots back on. I said, you need some help? You need some help putting on, did they not teach you how to put on your pants and boots here in Green Bay? And I said, you realize that we all put our boots and shoes and pants on the same, right? Like we're all the same in the morning when we wake up. We all get dressed the same way. I can help you. Whatever, dude. You mock me because I put on my pants. I'm just, hey, I'm just asking if you need some help. I don't know. There was a lot of weird conversations going on yesterday, but I will say this, and shout out to everybody. I shouted out, on Twitter this morning, just thanking all of the randomness. I didn't get a ton of time to take pictures, but a lot of people had stopped me walking through the corridors, walking throughout the streets, snapping some pictures, loving the Rise and Grind, morning show sign with the Detroit Lions sign that Eric had made for us, and or the chain, not sign. Yeah. And I mean, even Packers fans loved it. They thought it was great. But I mean, there was hundreds of people getting pictures, having fun. Really loved the way that, Megan and I were looking together. They even used the word epic at one point. I'm like, yeah, that's a little much, but yeah, let's get some pictures. But to hear that the show is being heard all over the country and people stepping up saying, hey, I listened to you guys. And, I'm from Chicago or I'm from Wisconsin or I'm from, wherever. And it's like, that's awesome. Like it's really cool that we got a lot of support, from everywhere. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you guys that stopped and took a picture and spent a few minutes kind of shaking hands, getting to know people. That's what it's all about to me, man. That's what this whole thing is all about. Beyond the gridiron, beyond the white lines, the football family is great. It really is. And whether you're an opponent, or not that week, we always find some common ground. So you're going to have some stupid fans here or there, but for the most part, my experience in Green Bay was top notch. Good people, had a great time. For the most part, well received, and it was a great game, man. Epic game. So we'll see each other again here soon, obviously.
If I can have 10 seconds, I'd like to thank Rachel Lilly and her husband Joe for inviting me to Lambeau Field. Rachel's a Packer fan. Joe is a Lions fan. And I had the most epic, amazing time. I only ran into one bad Packer fan the whole entire thing. I'm not going to tell you my experience. It was not very good. But everybody else was super awesome, super epic. The only thing that I don't understand about Lambeau Field, why do people love it? I'm going to ask people that have been to Lambeau Field, why does everybody love Lambeau Field? I don't get it. Bleacher seats, it's outdoors in the rain and the cold, and you are crammed. I mean, they give you like this much space on a bench with no back. And I bought a seat back thing and brought that with me, so that saved me. But I'm telling you, there's like, when somebody has to go through the road to get past you, there's like zero room. People are stepping on your feet and stuff. I've been to a bunch of stadiums around the league, and I have to say Lambeau Field is my least favorite of all the stadiums I've been to.
All right.
All of them.
If you want a quick review for me, here's what I would say the negatives about Lambeau. So we go to get food, and I'm looking for somewhere to stand and eat.
Yep.
There's nowhere to stand and eat. I see all of these walls that are just empty walls. Guys, put in a little 30-inch, table there. You know, up on the wall. You can have a whole bench or whatever along the wall where people could sit and eat. There's no little, you know, tables to stand and eat. There's trash cans that people are kind of huddled around. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to eat my food next to a trash can. So that is the only thing that I saw in my limited experience, because I didn't walk around everywhere. I was walked out by the time I got in there. That would be my only detractor. But as far as the aluminum bench seats and that, I thought it was great, man. To me, that just reminded me of all the years of coaching my kids, or, you know, being with my kids at their games. That's the memories that it brought back for me, is like that is the classic football setting that I think the majority of us have from a young age, either playing sports or coaching sports or watching your kids in sports. You know, not all of us, probably less than 5% of us, you know, have gone to high schools or kids that are in private schools that have true stadiums that there's a bunch of money poured into, that don't have bench seats. I can say that I've only been to maybe 2 high schools that actually have some seats, not bench seats. So to me, that's the classic, iconic stadium. I love the way the stadium is built, as far as everything is kind of all together. I love that part of it, where everything is very well planned, and they are consistently upgrading that stadium. I mean, every single year they're doing upgrades. It hasn't stopped for like a decade. So I did like all of that. The one thing that I did say to Megan is like, you know what? I said, here's the thing about bench seats. When you're sitting in a regular seat at Ford Field, I mean, they're all regular seats, but when you're sitting in just your seat, sometimes you're pretty tight with people, because those seats are not very big. And it seems like you're pretty tight. There's not a whole lot of knee room. You know, when you bend over or try to get up, you're always bumping into people, it seems like. Why wouldn't they just put in a bench, like a pew, like a church, you know, church seating, where there's no armrests, you know, you just got a big bench that you're sitting on with a back, you know, so it's just a seat with a back, and just make it a big wide seat like that. That way, you know, if you got smaller people or bigger people, it kind of evens itself out. You know, you kind of all get comfortable to a degree, as opposed to just sitting in a seat where you may not be that comfortable.
No, I like that idea, but where do you put your drink? You got to have drink holders.
You can still have those on the back of the backs.
Yeah, but at Lambo, there was no place to put your drink.
No.
There's no place to put it. If you put it by your feet, everybody's kicking it. If you put it next to you, the person next to you is like right up against you. There's no place to put a drink.
Just hold it, I guess. That's all you can do.
It drove me nuts.
Yeah. I thought it was a good experience, man. I really like Lambeau.
Listen.
I love the iconic, you know, I don't know if it's personification, whatever. I think that's just the stadium itself. I love the way the outdoor stadium feels. Like when I was at the 49ers stadium, I felt the same way. I love being outdoors. I love outdoor football games. I love night football games. The flyover was incredible.
Exactly.
I'm glad that they flew low underneath the clouds. Like, that was incredible. The fireworks. I mean, all that stuff that we can't have anymore inside, you know?
Listen, San Fran, that stadium was top notch. I loved it. And I sat up in the nosebleeds in the 400s, up in the middle of nowhere, and I loved it. I loved that stadium. I did not have the same feeling for Lambeau.
The only other thing that I will say is this: their stairs are dangerous. Like, those are not, they cannot be legal stairs. They are over 10 inches tall. So you got a lot of people that are sidestepping it. You know, people like me that got bad hips. It's dangerous trying to walk up and down those stairs. Like, they need to do something about that. But I highly doubt they would. That'd be a major renovation. Quick shout out to Easy. Easy, get your butt on the phone, man. Call in and tell us what you're thinking about this trade.
Yeah.
313-312-0348. Give us a holler, man. Tell us what you think of this morning.
Easy, you got to come on the show sometime.
Yeah, it's been a minute. He came on once.
He popped in with Chef, but he's never popped in when I'm on here.
No, he came in one day.
Yeah. Not when I was on.
Nobody likes you, Eric. I'm just kidding.
I guess. Well, me and Easy, we get together at every tailgate. I mean, I gave him a flashlight for his kids. It was awesome. Yeah, me and Easy are friends.
Yeah. So, Mr. Thomas, yes, the Lions did trade for Za'Darius Smith. Have you missed it all this morning?
I don't know, Mr. Thomas. We've been talking about that trade for an hour, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Been talking about it for a long time.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about Lambeau Field. I'd never been there before. It was an awesome experience. Some pluses, some negatives, but man, Overall, what a great experience. And I loved that we got to play in some nasty, wet, cold weather. The only thing that could have made it a little better is some big old snowflakes came down. That would have been great. I would have actually loved to see that. That would have been fun.
All right, so I don't think there's really anything else popping right now on the old interwebs. Let me refresh my screen.
Yeah, I'll look around too, see if I can find anything.
I don't think we have anything else popping for trades right now. There was one. It was Chicago traded Khalil Herbert. Lions obviously brought in Za'Darius Smith. So Khalil Herbert went to the Bengals. Jameson Williams, as we know, is back in the lineup. And that's really the biggest news of the day. But now I want to talk about something a little bit off subject here is Tom Brady. So Tom Brady might have got himself in some hot water with the NFL. And it was talking about the Brian Branch hit. And like I said, tomorrow I'm going to try to highlight, there was a lot of hits on Sunday that should have been flagged, that should have been ejected. If you're going to call the same thing and be fair about it, there should have been a lot more flags and a lot more suspensions on Sunday than just Brian Branch. So according to Corey Woods, we'll highlight his article this morning from MLive. Tom Brady's comments over Brian Branch's ejection may cause a stir within the NFL. Seven-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, now an NFL analyst and color commentator with Fox Sports, could face trouble with the league following his remarks during the Lions-Packers broadcast on Sunday. Now, why this is important, because when you are a color analyst or anything involving the NFL, you cannot publicly say anything negative about the refs, about other teams, so on and so forth.
Yep.
So he did to a degree, but this is what this is what they're talking about. Brady, also a minority owner of the Raiders, criticized game officials after safety Brian Branch was ejected during the Lions' 24-14 win over the Packers. The decision to eject Branch following a hit on the Packers wide receiver Bo Melton came from the league's replay review center in New York, which still blows me away. Not the officiating crew on the ground at Lambo Field, which is where I think it should have come from. While Brady agrees Branch should have been penalized, he questions the decision to eject him from the game. Here's his quote. "I don't love that call at all," Brady said during the broadcast. "Obviously, it's a penalty, but to me, there has to be serious intent in a game like this." And he went on to say he does so much for the Lions, and they are going to have to adjust the rest of the game, losing their best defensive player, who I know they were expecting to have a huge day today. Not an easy guy to replace, and Green Bay has great field position now without having to do too much. I agree with Tom Brady, and I'm glad that Tom Brady spoke up, because he might get himself in trouble. He may not. Who knows? I don't think he really cares.
He's Tom Brady. He doesn't care.
I don't think he really cares.
He thinks touchable.
Here's the thing about Brian Branch. To Tom's statement, there has to be clear intent, I think is spot on. But here's the question I would ask everybody. How do you know what their intent is? You would never know mentally what they're thinking. You would never know what their clear intent was. So you have to go by the hit on the field. When I looked at all these replays, as many as I could find, back, forth, sideways, up, down, left, right, didn't matter. To me, it looked like he tried to lead with his shoulder and turned his head. But there was another statement that maybe Brian Branch is marked in the NFL because of what happened during the Arizona game and how he was penalized on the Trey McBride penalty, where they said that Brian Branch lowered his head on Trey McBride, which was false. Trey McBride is the one that lowered his head. Branch was already down making the tackle. Trey McBride is the one that lowered his head to cause that collision. Trey McBride did not have to lower his head. Matter of fact, he could have just jumped over Branch or to the side. So I think where this is going is now the NFL is trying to make a statement here with the whole TUES thing, right? I think the TUES thing is what sparked a lot of this. These head injuries that they've been trying to get away from now for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're already marked with one penalty on the season, which Brian Branch was, now they're just not going to pull any punches. And anytime it looks intentful, I don't even know if that's a word, they're going to throw a flag and start to eject. I think it's BS. And here's the way that I fix it. I said it last night. I'm going to tell you again this morning. It does not get any easier than this, NFL. If Brian Branch would have taken out, who did he hit again? Was that, who was it?
Reed.
Was it Reed?
Or was it Reed or Wicks? One of the two.
Who cares? Let's just say it's Jaden Reed. If Brian Branch would have taken Jaden Reed out of the game, then you're gone. So if Jaden Reed had to exit the game due to injury, carted off, walked off, doesn't matter, is not coming back to the game,
yeah,
then you're gone.
Yeah, he didn't even go to the blue tent.
So I think that's how you have to do this. You have to do it like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? The Ayatollah, I think is what it is. If you knock somebody out, you're out. Let's just roll with it that way, because I don't think that you could have ever placed intent over Brian Branch's head like that. It's wet. It's sloppy. There's poor visibility. Brian Branch couldn't stop himself if he wanted to without maybe injuring himself. You have to keep that into mind too. If Brian Branch would have tried to stop it, and maybe he hurts his leg, maybe he buckles a leg or hyperextends a leg because he's trying to stop himself from making a collision. He couldn't see if that pass was caught or not. He was trying to make a play. But I don't believe for a minute there that Brian was targeting the guy's head. It may have looked like that. It may have come down like that, but come on. I think it has to be very, very, very even here. 1 for 1. If you knock my guy out and there was helmet-to-helmet contact, you're out of the game. If you don't knock my guy out, you get your warning, your 15-yard penalty, or whether it's a spot foul, I don't remember. And then if it happens a second time and you don't knock the guy out of the game, then you're ejected. I think that's the fairest way to go about this.
Well, we've been talking about it all year long. There's no transparency. So me as a fan, I don't know who in New York, if it was a 3-person panel. I don't know if it was 1 person in New York. I don't know if it was 5 people in New York that all said, okay, yep. He's ejected. None of them, and I did a little digging this morning or last night, and I found something from TJ Lang, who played in the league, right? He played for the Packers. He played for us.
By the way,
yeah,
TJ Lang got absolutely tore up the night before the game. I heard some stories. I don't know if you were there, Eric, but the Canadian fans that we were with at one of the lots, they said that what's crazy is I was going to stay at the hotel that the Lions were staying at, and then I switched. I didn't know the Lions were staying there. I wish I would have, because TJ Lang and some of the other guys just had a huge party in the bar all night long. They had lifted TJ Lang up and were toting him around the bar, and they were doing shot after shot allegedly. So I asked TJ before the game. He was walking by. I said, TJ, how you feel after last night? He said, whoo. He's like, yeah, he had a good time with Lions fans on the night before the game. Love TJ, man. He's awesome, man.
So on the TJ Lang, he's talking about the Brian Branch penalty, and this is what he had to say. He put out a video. It says, TJ Lang says it's absurd and that targeting does not exist in the NFL, but head-to-head contact does. And that the NFL is going down a very slippery slope if they are going to turn contact penalties into ejections. TJ also believes that Brian Branch is considered a repeat offender because he was fined for lowering his head in the Cardinals game. And he also noted that McBride was the one who lowered his head into Branch, which caused the penalty. He also thinks that this was the NFL trying to send a message.
Interesting. So he's also in the same boat there.
Yeah, so combine him with what Tom Brady says. So you have 2 former players, 2 very good former players, that are both saying, you can't do this, NFL. This is not right. They're not fans of the team. They are former players that play, TJ Lane playing for both. He played for the Packers and for the Lions, saying that this is absurd. So when they're saying it's absurd, it's absurd. This is not right. And even though we won the game, it's not a good thing. So a lot of fans want to know, does Brian Branch have to sit out the first half of the Texans game since he was ejected? Because normally that comes with a 1-game ban.
Say that part again.
So normally when somebody gets ejected, it's normally like a 1-game ban
After the game.
Yeah. So they're wondering if Brian Branch will be allowed to play versus the Texans in either the first or second half.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about that.
I'm not sure. So I thought that there would be an opportunity for him to be suspended because of the secondary act when he flipped off.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a big fine.
Yeah.
And I rewatched the NFL broadcast, the Fox broadcast. They did not show that at all. So fans at home are like clueless. They're like, why did we get an extra 15-yard penalty? He already got a 15-yard penalty. Why'd you penalize him twice? They didn't show him giving the double thumbs up there at Lambo. They didn't show it at all. Yeah, that they said he just he was I don't even know how they worded it. They just said that he didn't like an act that was something absurd or something. I don't know.
Well, it is what it is, man. If he can't play, the Lions will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to see Brian have to miss another game.
Like Mr. Thomas in the chat, double thumbs up and a bunch of smiley faces. Yeah, he flew the birds. That's what he did in the game. Oh,
well,
man.
good for him. You know what? I mean, that was complete BS.
Hey, I was doing the same. I already had my double birds up in the sky before he even put his up.
Yeah, I didn't go that far because they probably would have kicked me out because I'm right there.
Listen, where I was sitting, that Brian Branch play was right in front of me. Brian Branch was right in front of me. To me, it looked like his shoulder. And when they showed the replay on the screen, it looked like his shoulder. Now, watching it on TV, I saw some angles where it looked like, yes, he did have helmet to helmet. Their helmets touched, fine. It's a flag. But you shouldn't throw them out of the game. If they're going to do this targeting thing like they do in college where they throw them out anytime the helmets hit, fine, but you better do it to everyone, and they didn't do it to everyone.
That's my biggest gripe is I saw plenty of hits on Sunday.
Yeah. And the same thing with Puka Nacua getting ejected for punching someone. I see punches thrown all the time in the NFL and no one gets ejected. How come Puka Nacua gets picked on and the other people don't?
I think that has to be seen. You know what they always say, man. Like if it's always the second person.
It needs to be consistent is all I'm saying. It just, however they're going to do these penalties and ejections, if they're going to do it for one, do it for all. That's it. And then I'm happy. I'm fine with however they do it. Just do it the same all the time.
Right. I agree. All right. What else you have for today?
All right. Let me get back to my list here. So Jordan Love was in shotgun for basically every snap of the second half because the Packers were down 24-3. While it was a monsoon, a torrential downpour with his guard in at center because their center was not playing. Do you think it was a bad coaching job by Matt LaFleur to utilize the shotgun so much in this game?
Probably not. I mean,
but they put all those balls on the ground.
All right, so repeat your question one more time because I would say that shotgun is necessary. I mean, we were getting some pressure, and that's probably why they went to shotgun more often.
Yeah,
and it seemed like whether they were going to run the ball or not was, I mean, they really weren't. I mean, they were trying to throw the ball more often than they were trying to run the ball there in the second half. So,
yeah,
what was your question?
Well, basically, they had a backup. They had their guard in at center. That's not their normal center. Okay. They had to do some switching around on the O-line because of injury. The ball was wet. It's a monsoon. It's cold. The Lions were getting pressure. You put Jordan Love back in shotgun for almost the entire second half. Do you think it was a coaching mistake after seeing all these balls hit Jordan Love in the shins? There was 3 or 4 balls that almost would have been were almost fumbles, and he had to either fall on the ball or hurry up and pick it up off the turf and hand it off. Do you think it was a coaching mistake to stay in shotgun so much? Because the Lions, if you watch Jared Goff, there was a lot of times he was under center and he was wearing gloves, something that Jordan Love didn't do. Do you think it was a coaching mistake to keep him in shotgun so much in the second half with the weather conditions?
No, I mean, I think the weather conditions were what they were. I mean, clearly I think Jordan Love was a little bit more injured in that second half than what was let on. I think the biggest issue for them in that game was Love's mobility in the second half. So somewhere around the second half, they did approach Jordan Love, they being the Green Bay Packers and the medical team and the coach, they did approach Jordan Love to ask him if he wanted to continue to play.
Yep.
And he said yes. So they obviously kept him in. So I think at that point, you kind of shift things around a little bit to give him his best opportunity to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was their best opportunity. I didn't know that they had a guard in at under center in the second half. I mean, I wouldn't have known that. I mean, obviously after the game, it makes sense, when you hear about, some of the issues that they were having. But their center, Josh Myers, was he out the entire game or did he go out in that game?
I think he was out the entire game.
Okay. And they didn't put Elgden Jenkins in?
That's who was at center.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they had a backup guard as their center. He is their backup center. So he does get plenty of snaps throughout the season. But it's obviously it's not the same.
He kept doing these shotgun snaps that were low into the left and basically just throwing it on the ground. So even in the stands, I'm thinking, why not go under center? That way you make sure the exchange is good. He can turn around and hand off the ball if he wants, and he can still get back there and throw the ball. Jared Goff was doing it just fine. And I was thinking to myself, how come all these Packers receivers are dropping every pass that goes their way? They had 6 drop balls in this game. The Lions didn't. They were catching everything that was thrown their way that was close, I think the Lions were prepared with the proper shoes, the proper equipment, the proper gloves. And for some reason, the Packers weren't. And that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
What's this about Broski Bear that I see in the chat? He got flagged on YouTube. Who did he piss off now?
Huh.
Interesting.
I saw
that. That's why we don't see Broski Bear anymore.
No, I just saw him this morning.
Oh. Well, I just figured he stays away from us because we win.
His Bears aren't doing so hot this year.
No.
Yeah. So did you see the play? Okay. About the Bears where what's their receiver's name? DJ Moore?
Mm-hmm.
Where Caleb Williams escapes the pocket, runs over towards the sideline. He escapes again, and DJ Moore just walks off the field.
What?
During the middle of a play, he walks off the field. He thought that Caleb Williams was going to get, sacked, and he just walks off the field.
You got to be kidding me.
He didn't run around and try to get open, anything. He just walks right off the field.
This is legit happened during the play?
Legit. It happened 1,000,000%. You should find the video. It's hilarious. He walks right off the field. I'm not helping you, buddy. See you later.
That is craziness.
Yeah. You never give up on a play ever. It's kind of like the other guy for the Bears there that did it last week, over talking to fans instead of trying to stop the Hail Mary.
All right. So Dan Campbell was on 97.1 this morning. He was during his interview. Okay, and the trade news broke. So what's hilarious is that Dan did not get he probably did not get the heads up, while he was in the interview that Brad Holmes is doing his work. So during the 97.1 interview this morning with John Jansen and Jim Costa, the reports all surfaced that the team had traded for Browns edge rusher Za'Darius Smith. And Costa said this. He says, Dan, I hate to do this to you, but Ian Rappaport is reporting, verified Ian Rappaport, that the Browns are trading Za'Darius Smith to the Lions. Can you comment on that? And here's what Dan Campbell said. He says, well, Ian's got all the answers, doesn't he? and Campbell said, well, you'd hate it if Ian was wrong, wouldn't you?
Oh, geez.
And I think he kind of left it at that. But interesting that Dan didn't say anything else. Very interesting that Dan didn't say anything else there. I'm going to have to listen to that later on today.
Yeah.
I always miss that show. I don't know why. I always miss it. But nothing else really popping off right now. I haven't seen any NFL trades or any trade news.
Yep. Nope. It's pretty quiet now. I would suspect if you're going to see anything else for the rest of the day from any of the teams, it's going to be closer to the deadline, closer to 4:00, probably about 3:30.
Oh, here we go.
No, you broke another one.
No. Just this is good information, maybe potentially for the Lions. So, according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, the Giants are still taking offers for edge rusher Aziz Ojulari.
There we go.
But will only move him for the right price. So ESPN's Jeremy Fowler mentions that the return in trades for defensive end Za'Darius Smith and outside linebacker Baron Browning, and believes that New York will want more than that for Ojulari. So if that's your benchmark.
Yeah, a 6th and a 5th.
In trade for a player in a 7th.
Well, the guy for Denver, he went for a 6th. And then basically Za'Darius Smith went for a 5th. So
Ojulari has his final year of a $6.775 million rookie contract. So Ojulari is lined to be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. So you're going to get a half a year rental. That's all you got is a half a year rental.
Yep.
For what? A 4th round pick? Is that what they're looking for? They want a 5th?
But what does he have so far this year? Let me see here.
What, as far as stats?
Yeah, let's look this guy up.
He has 6 sacks, 22 in his career, 12 solo tackles. That's it. He has six sacks on the season.
All right.
And he's a smaller option. So he's more of an outside linebacker, right? So he's 6'3", 240. Now, if you remember Jared, when Jared was on, this is one of the guys that he really liked too.
Yeah.
But the Giants use a heavy 3-3-5 scheme. So it's just like a 3-4. I mean, very, very similar, but it's a 2 high shell. It's a light box, and they go with 3 linebackers with an extra DB. That's their primary look, right? So the Giants usually use an interior alignment of a 303 or a 4-eye over 4-eye. And that, I mean, it could benefit the Lions, but so in my opinion, Ojulari would be an outside linebacker.
But isn't he not a starter for the Giants? I'm pretty sure he's a second stringer for the Giants. He's just having a good year. He's had to play because of some injuries now and then. Because they have Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence on that team.
Well, they got Brian Burns as the will linebacker. They got Okirky as the left linebacker. Ojulari is the Sam linebacker. And see, that's where he fits to me. They have Kayvon Thibodeau on IR, so that's why he's getting more opportunity right now. And then Deontay Johnson is also on IR. So Olari, yeah, he's a starter right now because of injury, I guess you would say. But I think he would be an outside linebacker option. So again, if you're looking to help out the linebacker room, who would he come in and take place of right now? right?
Rodrigo.
Yeah, so you would have Anzalone, Jack Campbell, and Ojulari out there in place of Rodrigo.
Yeah, because the Lions are. I believe that the Lions coaching staff wants that Sam linebacker. They want that guy that is Derek Barnes.
Well, we're missing a Derek Barnes right now, and you know, I'll be honest. Look, I love Derek Barnes. I love what he does, but he's not an elite level outside linebacker yet. No. I'm not saying he can't ever be, but his coverage ability, in my opinion, is lacking just a little bit. So I would love to see if Ojulari holds up, you know, as far as coverage.
Yes. And like the Detroit Lions, they tried to make James Houston and Betts into Sam linebackers, and it didn't work.
It's tough. It's tough to transition.
They're desperate for an amazing Sam linebacker. They are desperate for one.
So if we look at his grades, if we take a look at Ojulari's grades just over the last 9 weeks, his coverage grade is not sexy, man. It's a 50.8. But you're talking a guy that's coming in as a rotational guy. You know, the first 5 weeks of the season, he was a rotational player.
Yeah.
Right. So he's getting about 20 snaps a game. And now he's getting close to 55 snaps a game the last 4 weeks. And his coverage has hovered right around a 60. His pass rush is right around a 60. His tackling is terrible, grade-wise. Mm-hmm. But his run defense and his overall defense, I mean, you're low 60s. So his grades don't pop off at you, right? He's got 21 pressures on the season. And since he's been a starter, that's where he's done the most of his work. So in week 6, he had 6 pressures. Week 7, he had 3. Week 8, he had 4. Week 9, he had 2. And he's had 5 sacks in the last 4 weeks. So if you want to look at his play as a starter and throw out the rest because he wasn't a starter, the dude's playing out of his mind right now. Like, he's playing out of his mind right now. In the last 4 weeks, he has 13. He has 15 pressures, 5 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 8 hurries, which is more than 80% of his stats for the season in 4 games.
Yep.
So clearly, you put him on the field, he plays better. You put him in as a rotational guy, he doesn't play as well. And that's usually a scheme thing, right? You know, when you're in full time, you know, you're in full time. You're going to get your shots.
Yep.
Sometimes when you come in off the bench, it takes a minute to warm up, and you've got to kind of get into a rhythm, right? And right now he's kind of in a rhythm because he's starting. So look, I like it. I like Ojulari. He's young. You know, he's not out of the box yet where you're not going to be able to teach an old dog new tricks. He's still young enough. He can get molded into this defensive scheme, but he would definitely be an outside linebacker.
What kind of size is he?
6'3", 240. So he's got good size.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a little light, but I mean, I don't think that we see. Yeah, I think the days are gone of the 6'2", 250 pound, linebackers. Jack Campbell. Yeah. is probably the bigger, of the linebackers that you're going to see these days.
Yeah,
Jack's pretty good size.
Yeah. He had a good game. I liked watching him.
Yeah, he's been playing well. Jack's really been playing well. His 3rd season is going to be crazy good. But yeah, Jack's 6'5", 250. So pretty big guy. I mean, he could definitely play off the edge if you really wanted him to. I just don't know what his edge profile looks like. I don't think that we've really seen it yet. I mean, we've seen him come off the edge as a linebacker.
Yeah,
but not as a rusher.
In his rookie season, they put him at edge a couple times. I haven't seen it so much this year, though. I don't know if I've seen him line up at the edge at all this year.
So recap real quick. Lions bring in Za'Darius Smith this morning off of a trade. Brad Holmes, once again, steals the show and stole a player for peanuts. and doesn't really affect our 2025 draft at all.
Nope.
We're not giving up a whole lot for this guy. What else do we have here?
All right. Let me see. What do I got? So, would you estimate that the Packers were the best teams the Lions have faced this season? We kind of talked about that earlier.
Say that again.
Do you think the Packers are the best team that the Lions have faced this season?
Oh no, we already talked about that one.
Yeah. Record wise they are, but I don't think so. You know.
No, I'm still gonna roll with, the Bucs were a better team, the Rams were a better team, by far than what we faced with the Packers. Now, had it been dry conditions, maybe it would have been a different outcome. We'll find out when they come to Ford Field. We'll probably curb stomp them then too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about speaking of curb stomping, let's talk about curb. So
yeah,
if you guys didn't know, now you know. On X on here, let me just pull it up. I believe it was Saturday. I put out a couple of predictions for the game.
Yeah. Mine were all wrong. Except for my score was pretty close. But I said Terrion Arnold was going to have his first interception. I was wrong. He did not get an interception in this game.
He had a good game, though.
Yes. But I'm still waiting for one of our corners to get an interception. And if it was going to happen, I thought it was going to happen against Jordan Love.
All right. So as you can see on what day was this? November 1st. This was my predictions. Lambo Leap, here I come. Road 2, section 137. Obviously, we're wearing the classic whites in the grass. It's going to look great. Right there, curb, interception for the win. That's what I predicted. And that pick six interception won the game for the Detroit Lions. That put us up. Even if the game would have ended with an extra score by Green Bay, it would have been 17-14. So we won the game based off of that pick six. Montgomery, I thought it was going to be a nasty game. Told him to bring the pain. He did. He got a game ball. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I thought that he would get in a touchdown, and I wanted to see a Lambo leap. He got a touchdown in my corner. He just decided not to do a Lambo leap. So that was my predictions for the game, and I'm glad I got them. And Jade, since you're in the chat, buddy, I don't know if you saw this, but I got Jahmyr Gibbs' glove. That's the glove. So yeah, we'll put it in a frame, and hopefully we'll get Gibbs to sign it.
Did he hand it to you, or did he throw it up and you caught it?
He threw it at me. So Megan's got all the pictures where he's looking at us. He's taking the gloves off, looking, and he threw them. And I only caught one. The other one kind of trailed off to the other side. So they weren't stuck together, but I only grabbed the one. So, and I caught it with my left hand, which is crazy because I'm not left-handed.
Hopefully a Packer fan didn't get the other one.
No breaking news right now, Josh Prince, that I've seen. Haven't seen anything else. I do expect the Lions to still stay active. It doesn't mean that we're going to bring in somebody, but I do expect them to stay active. I mean, this is your only shot, right? This is your only shot right now. This is it. This is what you got for the rest of the season. But like I said, I'll be combing the practice squads. I did, last night. I do like Andre Carter out of Minnesota. Poaching him off of someone's practice squad would be perfect. It'd be the Vikings practice squad. So there's still some players out there. There's still some practice squad. I mean, let's just look at what the Lions have done with Muhammad and Thomas. Yeah, I don't think you can judge or evaluate what they did in this game in Green Bay. It was a terrible game as far as weather was considered. I'm not going to evaluate whether they're going to make a difference on this team for the rest of the season after 2 games. Now, after the first game that they got in, they played great. Muhammad was our leading pressure guy, in week 8. And Thomas played a hell of a game too. I think he had a fumble recovery in week 8. Week 9, different story. It was a muddy mess out there, and they did what they could. They were, even though the stats don't show that Love was under a ton of pressure, you also have to look at how many times he dropped back. So he dropped back to pass, 39 times. So that's going to whittle down your pressure rate. Now, if he only would have thrown the ball 30 times, the pressure rate would have been higher. So I'm still excited to see what these guys could do.
I know we didn't get a sack, but what were the pressure numbers? I didn't see how often we got close.
I think last night, I think it was 18.
18?
Yeah, let me man, I feel like crap. This whatever I got going on just comes in waves, man.
Well, I'm happy you were able to stick it out for a couple hours with me this morning.
Yeah.
Almost thought I was going to have to go solo.
Could you imagine if I would have missed the trade this morning? I would have been pissed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
I would have been sleeping or something. Yeah, so the Lions had 18 pressures on the day, according to PFF. No sacks, 2 quarterback hits, 16 quarterback hurries. And see, to me, that's the sticking point. We have 16 quarterback hurries in this game, one of which ended up in Kirby Joseph's hands. So to tell me that this defensive line has not been playing well, they have been. They've been playing extremely well. I mean, no Davenport, no Rodrigo, no Brian Branch, no Kaminsky, no Hutchinson, no Barnes.
Oh, God.
And the list goes on.
Yeah.
And we're 3-0 now since Hutch exited with a broken leg.
Yep.
And we are what, 6-0? Are we sick? Yeah, we're 6-0 since our loss to Tampa Bay. Crazy that our defense is playing this well.
Yeah.
And I guess on the flip side of that, here's why I'm confident. We started talking about the Chiefs earlier, and who are the best teams in the NFL, and what would happen if the Lions and the Chiefs met in the Super Bowl today. Yep, they have a pretty good offensive line. So do we. They have a pretty good defense. So do we. Let's give them the edge on defense for now, which I don't believe is the case. I don't think that they have 2 top-tier safeties. I don't think that they have a top-tier linebacker like we do. I don't think that they have 2 top 10 defensive. I was getting a little feedback there. I don't think that they have 2 top 10 defensive linemen, but we do. But you know what else we have? We have an offense.
Yep.
We have an offense that can strike from anywhere. We have 2 running backs. If you haven't noticed by now, Ben Johnson will put in Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery to start a game, and he's flip-flopping possessions back and forth. And then like the second half comes, and then he's flip-flopping downs. We'll go Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit, then David Montgomery a little bit, and he's kind of going back and forth that way. You are resting your running back for half the game primarily because you have another guy that can fill in. We're scoring touchdowns on 4th downs. 4th and 1, and we score a 15-yard touchdown with Jahmyr Gibbs. 4th and 3 or 4th and 2, we throw a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown. This offense is steamrolling defenses right now. So I don't care who we go up against. We have a pretty damn good defense, but our offense can beat you from anywhere. As long as we stay healthy for the rest of the season on offense, this offense will win we'll win a Super Bowl. I guarantee it.
All right. I got 3 quick shout outs. All right. You ready for this?
Go for it.
The first one, Roger Peace. He met me on the queue line at the draft. Thank you for tuning in, Roger. And then number 2, Mr. Thomas. He writes, I got to tell you guys, you have a hell of a show. This is better than Woodward Sports.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. And now number 3.
So, Mr. Thomas, I'm not as organized this morning because I feel like crap, but we're getting there. We've got a long way to go, but we're getting there.
And number 3, I have to give a giant shout out to the Tennessee Titans. They are the first team to not contract the Honolulu Blue Flu. They are the first team to win their game following a loss to the Lions.
I didn't watch that game. How did it? Did they barely win?
I don't know. I didn't either. I just know that the Titans won, so they're the first team to not contract or come down with the Honolulu Blue Flu all season. So congratulations to the Tennessee Titans. Now,
yeah, I really. So I want to go back to talking about the Lions for just a moment.
Sure.
In the playoffs here, who are you guys really concerned about right now? if you look at the NFL standings, right, and if let's just say everything were to stay the way that it is right now for the rest of the season, we got a few minutes here to finish this off.
Yeah, and
who are we really worried about? So right now at the top of the list, I'll throw this up on the sheet, or I'll throw it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way off.
You can see it.
Yeah, let me fix it.
Yeah, and I have our schedule right in front of me too. And before the season started, you predicted what, 14-3?
Yeah.
And I said 15-2. And now I am really thinking that I must be psychic because I see us going 15-2. And people are asking me, well, why 15-2? Who do you think we're going to lose to the rest of the season? Looking at all our games, we should win them all, right? Well, yeah, but I think week 18, we're going to be resting starters because we're going to already lock up the NFC North and the number 1 seed. That's just my prediction.
Well, I would agree with you that we should be able to lock it up. But if you look at the way our schedule is, though, it's going to be tough to lock it up before week 14. I mean, we got the Packers week 14.
Yeah.
And then we have the Bears 16, and we have the Vikings in 18. So it's going to be really tough for us to lock it up before week 14 has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It has to happen. So if we beat the Bears and then beat the Packers again, then we have a chance to lock it up beginning week 15. But if for some reason we drop one of those games, it's going to go to week 16 no matter what.
Yeah, and that's against the Bears.
It doesn't mean that we may not, I don't think there's ever been a case where a team has won a 1 seed and not won their division. I don't think that's ever happened.
I don't think it can.
Yeah, you're right. It can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why my mind was thinking that.
Yeah. But that's the only possible loss I can see on paper, is that we just don't need to win that game.
So we have the Texans. Texans are they're in bad shape right now. They've got a few injuries that are hurting them. You got the Jags. I mean, they could be. Yeah, it depends on what team shows up, but I don't feel like it's going to be that big of a deal at home. And then we travel to the Colts. Again, that's a team that can be a team, but again, we're talking Flacco here, who honestly, Flacco can be a great quarterback. He proved it last year. It just depends on what Flacco shows up. So even if the Lions win the next 3 and we're 10-1 before we hit the Bears, and then we're 11-1 after the Bears and 12-1 after the Packers, then I think that, yeah, we have it locked up at that point, because then you could only lose 2 divisional games. So the worst we could finish is with 2 losses.
Yeah.
And then we'll just have to see who's lost since then. The Packers we would have beat twice. The Bears we would have beat once. As long as the Bears have lost to another divisional opponent, we should be in, because we already beat the Vikings. So anyway, I think it's going to go to at least week 14 or week 15. I'm sorry, at least week 15 minimum.
Yep.
But something tells me it's going to carry on a little bit after that. But when you look at the playoff picture here, the team that concerns me the most is the Commanders.
Yeah.
That is the team, because they have such a crazy good offense right now.
And they got an easy schedule.
And Jaden Daniels is playing lights out, and he's a very mobile quarterback. So this is where solidifying the edge position, it helps in having somebody that has a little bit of speed, to be able to get off after Jaden Daniels. That potential playoff matchup could be the best of the season. To be honest, that could be the best game of the playoffs right there. So we don't want to see the Commanders. We hope that, that they lose in their first round. But like I said, the Cardinals are going to be, I said that they were going to be the 2023 Texans at 24. The Cardinals are right back in the fold now.
Yep, they sure are.
And their schedule is not terrible.
Yep.
So
we may see the Cardinals again in the playoffs.
So Jay-Z, I'd take Goff over Daniels any day. But the point that I'm trying to make is, that is going to be one of the tougher offenses that we face. Kirk Cousins, with the Falcons.
Yeah, they're going to be dangerous.
Again, they can spread the field. They've got a lot of options on that offense too. They're very similar. And look, Kirk has been playing like young Kirk as of late. He's been able to move around, make some plays with his legs.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's going to be as big of a challenge as a Jaden Daniels, though. I'm more concerned about his arm talent.
I'm glad I took my comeback player of the year bet on Kirk Cousins.
So right now, if the Lions were to finish with the 1 week, first week bye, and the Chiefs finished with the first week bye, you'd have the Commanders going up against the Packers. You'd have the Falcons going up against the Eagles, and you'd have the Cardinals going up against the Vikings.
That'd be a fun weekend to watch.
Yeah, and I think that the Packers are going to lose to the Commanders.
Yep.
And I would say that the way that the Falcons are playing right now, I think that they could beat the Eagles. And as far as the Vikings and the Cardinals, that's a toss-up. It depends on who shows up.
Yep.
But on the other side of this, let's say it all boils down that, the Lions, end up in the NFC Championship against any one of these teams. Who are you worried about the most?
Commanders. Just because we haven't played them?
Yeah. I would say so. The Eagles have a run game. We've been able to stop the run all season. We've already beat the Vikings, and I think we'll beat them again. The Cardinals, we took care of them, and I think we'll take care of them again. I think that the two teams that would make the biggest run at us, it's going to end up being the Falcons and the Commanders. And then on the other side of this, we can beat the Chargers. We can beat the Texans. We're about to beat the Texans. We should be able to beat the Steelers. They have a pretty good defense. The Bills, they're a fun team to watch, but I think that they have some holes. The Broncos, definitely beatable. So right now, I would say that there's maybe 4 teams in the NFL combined that could challenge the Lions, and I'm still highly confident that the Lions can pull it out.
Yep. So hey, everybody in the chat, can you put what your season prediction is for the Lions? Well, how do you think they're going to do? Will said 14-3 before the season. I said 15-2. Now seeing half the season is over, how do you guys think we're going to do? What do you guys in the chat? How do you think our season is going to end up? Where are we going to be at the end of the season? 15-2, 14-3, 10-7? You tell me. How are the Lions going to do this year?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I'm seeing 13-4. Who are our 4 losses then? Because we got 1. I see 14-3. I said 15-2. So all the people, when you're putting in your thing, who do you think we're going to lose to? Who do you think the losses are going to be? Is it going to be San Fran? Is it going to be the Bills? Is it going to be we lose one to the Bears? Do we drop the one to the Packers at home? I don't think so. Do we lose that last game of the year to the Vikings because we have the number 1 seed locked up? That's the only one I can see possibly losing. Lots of 13-4s in here. I like this one. I was at 14-3 before the season, but now I'm at 15-2 or 16-1.
Oh, wow.
How amazing would that be?
So my 14-3, I think that solidifies the Lions as the 1 seed.
Yep.
And we'll walk through this again this week. We'll do the playoff picture this week. Since we're at the half week point, I want to say tomorrow's Wednesday already. So tomorrow is going to be mid-season roundup for us tomorrow. So we're going to go through all of this and more. We're going to talk about the Lions' first half of the season, the good points, the bad points, and kind of take a look at the rest of the league. And primarily, I'm going to focus on this playoff picture right now. So we're going to focus on the 14 teams that are leading. So the Commanders, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Eagles, the Packers. On the NFC side, on the AFC side, it'd be the Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers, the Texans, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Broncos. So we're gonna try to put something together for tomorrow. It's a lot of work, but We're going to put something together tomorrow to kind of talk about all of the different scenarios, where the Lions line up. You know, what are we looking at as far as at the end of the day today by 4 p.m. we'll know if the Lions have brought in some more help. But right now, Za'Darius Smith is a big welcomed addition to this team. Welcome to the Pride, Z Smith, man. Glad that you're going to be here soon, and look forward to you putting some work in here for the Detroit Lions. You're joining a good team, man. Let's get after it, right, buddy? Let's do it. That's it for today's Rise and Grind morning show. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And of course, appreciate everyone that called in today that wanted to share your thoughts. Remember, the phone lines are going to start being open at 8:30 in the morning. Just call in if you want to call in, and I'll try to remind you, but I'll have the phone open at least for an hour to try to take a few calls, and we'll go from there. So we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Eric, any final 30 seconds here for you?
Yeah. Welcome to the fold, Za'Darius Smith. If anyone finds out what number he's going to wear, please let me know, because I want to order a Smith jersey as soon as I find out what his number is. Might get one in each color.
Okay, well, that's it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be back here at 8 a.m. Have a good day.
In the city, where the road meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rock on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. In the city, where the road meets the night, the Lions charge, ready for the fight. Noble hearts and steadfast pride. Detroit spirit, we wear it white. Feel the drive, hear the crowds embrace. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. Rocked on, Detroit Lions will rise. With a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. With every game, we rise and unite. Feeling the passion igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together